everybody, it's Allison, stlprostretch.com. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Today's video is going to be a beginner video for calves and also getting into some of the muscles of the pelvis. So we'll be dealing with the hip flexor, the muscles that surround the spine, the QL a little bit, and maybe even some glutes. So I plan on doing another video that's going to be a little more advanced, but if you're a beginner and you're just really stiff, this is a great place to start. And always remember to work within your range of motion. Don't do it if it hurts. And for the most part, move and resist. We may go into some passive stretches today, and it's really up to you if you want to add movement and resistance or not. Anyway, you will need a mat, a rolled up towel or a mat, a chair, a blanket, and a couple blocks. So if you don't have those things, go and get them and hit pause, and come back when you have them. And then we'll get started. So let's come to the mat. So I've got my chair set up here in front of me, and this is for calves. And I've got my rolled up mat. You could use a towel. It doesn't really matter. So I've got this here, and just keep in mind that the farther away you are probably from the chair, the deeper the calf stretches is going to be. So if you really tight calves, you want to kind of come closer to the chair. I'm going to just jump right on this mat with the balls of my feet. And I'm going to try to have the inner edges of my feet parallel one another, because you really don't want to toe out with this one. Well, you can, but you're just going to hit a different part of your calf. And you can play around with that on your own. You could toe in or toe out. But I like to start with just straight up and down, because that's really going to hit that soleus, and that's where a lot of you are tight. I know. I am. And then I'm going to lean forward for this chair. So you can be up on the balls of your feet right now. That's fine. And then I'm going to slowly lower the heels, and I'm going to push my hips back and stretch my chest, push my chest down to the floor. So that's your stretch number one. Lift as you shift up. And I'm lifting the heels and then lowering the heels and press the chest down and push the hips back. You can even think about tilting the tailbone up if you want. So lift and lower. Even when you tilt the tailbone up, I do want you to keep your core engaged. So pull that belly button in toward your spine. So lift and lower. So this is a really great beginner calf stretch. It also gets into the lats and your chest. So consider this kind of like a double whammy for both upper and lower body. And I would say, start with 10 reps, maybe 12. You can work up to 20. This is a great warm-up for calves. And then maybe when you do this, you can get into some deeper stretches, which we will be doing in a minute. So another thing that you can do here, and I know I have this in some other videos, is I like to bring my feet together when I do this stretch. Is once I'm here, I'm going to do a couple more, just to make sure we're good and warmed up. Is bring my feet together. Lift and lower, and then once I'm lowered, I'm going to shoot one leg back behind me, and I'm going to kick it up and down. And you could even do this as you add the lift. You can come up on the ball of your foot, and then as you lower, kick the foot back. Now this is getting a little bit more advanced. I realize that. So if it's too much for you, then just skip it, and we are going to move on. Next, calf stretch. This is a good one too. I'm going to take this rolled up mat, and I'm just going to put it right at the bottom of the chair. Now here's where I'm going to use my yoga block. And I'm just going to put my yoga block right in front in a diagonal. And I'm going to bring my hips back just about as far as I was before, and my hands forward. And I put the ball of my foot on the block and the heel on the floor. And I have my right foot on the block. I'm going to pull my right hip away from the chair. I'm going to bring my left hip toward the chair as I bow forward. And you should be getting a pretty good calf stretch here because the toes are elevated. If you were wanting more, well, you can lift the heel and tip forward. And you can move in and out of this, or if you just want to hold a passive stretch, if you're pushing the ball of the foot into the block as you do this and pulling the right hip away and left hip forward, you are going to be adding resistance to this. So it's just not, we're not moving, but there is resistance. It should feel a little bit like the muscles are being challenged to hold this. It's not entirely passive. You want to hold this if you're doing it for about 30 seconds if you can. And then we will switch legs, and I think the easiest way to do that is just step back and then bring the other foot forward. So the ball of the foot is on the block. I'm going to push into it just like pushing into a pedal or something, and then the heel on the floor. I'm going to pull the left hip away from the chair, the right hip toward the chair, and I'm going to bend forward. You're going to get a hamstring here too, I'm not going to lie. So both. If you are feeling this in the sit bone, you might want to stop doing this, or just please work within your range of motion. And if you feel it yanking at the sit bone, then stop. I would probably do a hip flexor stretch rather than doing this first and then come back to this. So again, if you want a little bit more of that calf stretch, you're going to lift up on the ball of the foot and shift forward. This is kind of like being on a slant board in a way. And just remember, I've got my left foot on the block. I'm pulling my left hip away, and I'm drawing my right hip forward. And I'm stretching my chest toward the chair and bringing it down. And again, we want to hold this for about 30 seconds. I never have a timer, but you'll kind of get to the point where you know when the muscle is starting to release. And then we're going to come out of this. We don't need the rolled up mat anymore. You can just set that to the side and move the chair out of the way a little bit. You might need the chair though for balance, I'm not sure. And we're going to bring our blanket and set it in the center of the mat. So here is where, you know what, if you need that chair for balance, then bring it over to the side. That way you can just hang on to it. All right. I'm kneeling on the blanket. I am going to bring my right foot forward. And I'm going to do the opposite of sticking my butt out. And I'm going to pull my belly in. So we want to be straight up and down as much as possible. And as you do that, you're going to shift forward, keeping the belly in, tailbone under. Shift forward and back. This is our basic hip flexor stretch. Just move in and out of it. By the time I get to here, I'm starting to feel a stretch in the front of my hip. You should almost feel like your legs are scissoring together, like you should feel like your back foot is pushing into the mat a bit as you shift forward. We want to do about 8 to 12 of these. Another thing that I kind of like to do is I get to this point where I'm coming forward. I want to really assert the belly pulling in. And if you need to put your hands on your thighs to do that, kind of just push and straighten up the torso a little bit. So I'm bringing the navel in and pulling my belly away from this thigh in the front as I come forward. And now I'm really feeling that back foot press into the mat. If you want to add a side bend to this, you may. You may just want to stay here. You know, we've got a lot of resistance going on right now. It's just we're not moving in and out of the stretch. So the side bend would be bending over to the right with all those actions going. Yes, belly in, tailbone under, and bending over to the right. All right. And now we're going to add a little bit of a runner stretch in here. I'm going to move my chair around and put it right out front. And you may or may not need the chair. So the runner stretch, the hamstring stretch, I'm going to pull my heel in toward me and then back it up. you should kind of already feel like the hamstrings are a little bit stretched out. I'm pulling the heel in toward me the whole time. It's definitely a true resistance stretch. And you can hold it here. If you've got that contraction going, or even if you don't, then by all means, hold it if you like that feeling. And then we're gonna hold it here. And I'm gonna put my hand on the chair and I'm gonna turn into that leg. So I'm turning the opposite direction. You cannot see my face. Whew, that's a good stretch. Okay, so that is a lateral hamstring stretch. You could move in and out of it if you wanted to. Okay? And now I'm going to have you flip your foot behind you. This can be done, we can stretch out the right leg and do a lateral stretch here. That is up to you. You might want to just kind of like take a dip and stretch it over. Well, my favorite thing to do is bend the knee. The toes are going to be pointing straight out to the side, my right toes. My left foot is behind me. I'm going to pull my tailbone under and belly in again. And I'm also going to open this knee out to the side. So I'm going to lean into this. You might want to move the chair away here. You may not need it. And as I do that, I'm going to side bend and stretch up and over. So this is going to get into this hip flexor, even the quad a little bit, QL, all of that. So if you feel kind of like stuck here, or even your lat, this one might be a really, really good one for you to do. So I'm just going to move in and out of it, or you can hold. Just remember to keep the knee open. It's going to want to go in, and then you're going to lose a lot of the stretch. So open it up and lean. And again, you can do between 8 and 12 reps of this or not. Or you can just hold. It's totally, totally up to you. And now we're going to move on through to the other side. So, and another nice thing about these stretches is, if you don't like having your knees on the blanket, you could actually just take a chair, just make sure it's on something secure. And you can do these stretches just standing. You just have to make sure that you're doing the actions of the pelvis. So the tailbone is going under, the belly is going in and up as you lean forward. So you can do them this way. You can turn and do the side stretch the same way. So it's really optional if you want to do them kneeling or not. I do feel like the kneeling ones, you're going to get a deeper stretch. But I do understand that some people do not like being on their knees. So let's do the other side. So I am scissoring my inner thighs together. I'm doing the opposite of sticking my butt out. Remember that. That's so important with this stretch. Otherwise, if you spill forward as you come forward, you're going to lose all the stretch. So we want to make sure that the belly is in and up and the tailbone is under. And I'm shifting forward and back into that hip flexor stretch. We want to, again, to do about 8 to 12 reps if you can. I'm really thinking about that action of belly in, tailbone under the entire time. Again, if you want to hold here and kind of use your hands to push the upper body away and then just go a little bit deeper. If that feels good to you, then try it out. Again, if I really needed the chair to the side, then I would have that here, but I'm just balancing, so. And then we're going to go into that, that hamstring stretch. So I'm going to pull the heel in toward me, keep pulling it in, and then back it up. After that calf stretching, I'm not really feeling a whole lot of tension here, but some of you might. I'm pulling the toes back toward me. You don't have to. If that's getting your calf too much, you'll know because you'll feel it behind the knee. You definitely don't. You don't have to. So we're going to work in and out of this. Again, 8 to 12 reps or something like that. Maybe you don't need this stretch today. Maybe you just need, the hip flexor stretch. That's fine. And then you can hold it. You can hold it here, And you can kind of pull the chest forward and feel this heel like pulling back toward you as you pull the chest forward. Also, you can take a turn. So we can turn to the side. Massive lateral hamstring stretch. So you can move in and out of this as well. Or you can just hold it. We want to turn the shoulders. Try to pull this left hip away from the chair. The toes are going to want to go out to the side, and they can if you want them to. It's just a different rotation. For the stretch, you're still going to be hitting lateral hamstring. And then we're going to work into the side stretches. And I'm going to take this chair and move to the other side so that I can still be facing you. So now I've got my left foot out to the side. And you can just start here with a straight leg and just side bend. This is one of the Kihara stretches with the hands either behind the head or you can slide it down. I'm pushing my foot into the mat, and my toes are actually pointing mostly toward you as I lean. Down and up. It's a great QL stretch. Or what I've been doing lately is, so my foot's behind me, I'm turning my foot out. The toes are facing out to the left, and I'm going to kind of pull my inner thighs together and shift as I lean and reach. I am pulling my tailbone under, almost squeezing my right glute, and pulling my belly in and up. My left knee is opening. It's going to want to close on you. So get those 3 actions going as you bend, and you can either move in and out of it. I mean, you could go deeper if you want. That's true. That's fine. The most important action is just try not to if the hips stick out, if the butt sticks out in the back and you come this way, you're going to lose all this hip flexor quad stretch and a lot of the QL stretch too. So just make sure that you've got the tailbone under and belly in as you lean and reach. And, you can do as many reps as you want, or you can just hold it. Okay, and then we're going to do one more stretch. For hip flexors, this is kind of a nice passive stretch. I've got my yoga block. And this, I'm going to lie down, and I'm going to put my head on top of a blanket. You don't need a blanket, really. You could lift your hips. And if you can't lift your hips that high, that's fine. Just put it on the lowest position. But if you can lift it higher, oh, great. Put it on the medium position. I don't think you need to put it on the highest position. But for right now, I'm just going to put it on the lowest position. And then I'm going to pull one knee in toward my chest. I'm pulling my right knee in towards my chest, and I'm stretching my left leg out. And I'm going to stretch it out, and I just keep bringing this right knee into my chest, and then maybe open it out to the side. And that's really going to be a nice passive release for your hip flexors, both your quad and your psoas, your iliopsoas. And then we'll hit the other side. So draw the left knee into the chest and stretch the right leg out. And then if you like, you can take the knee out to the side. That's just going to get a little bit deeper into the hip flexors. And technically, you should probably hold this for like 30 seconds. But with all that we've done for the hip flexors, you probably won't need to hold it that long. It was probably a little bit released already. All right. And then lift the hips, take the block out, and lower down. And that's really about it for today. As I said, I'm planning on doing an advanced or an intermediate video that will kind of cover a lot of these points as well. So if this was not hard enough for you, then there should be a video like right after this on the playlist. So revisit that. Anyway, that's it for today. Happy stretching. If you have any comments, please leave them, and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you. Bye-bye.